go do the start song. He's just like, all right. That's awesome. So I'm gonna go ahead. I'll count us down. We'll probably just go ahead and start the podcast right here. I'll keep with the format. So we'll start in 3, 2, 1. Adrian, what's up? Adrian Perez, the man, the myth, the legend, the badass harp player from El Paso. How's it going, brother?
It's good, man.
Thanks for coming up here all the way to Phoenix from Tucson.
Yep.
It's probably been a journey.
It's been a long day, yeah. We've kind of had some fun last night.
Yeah. That's nice.
Yeah.
Had a little party, a little chill back.
Yeah, it was Jasmine's 24th birthday yesterday. And
24.
we had like a little dinner thing and then turned into a party. One of those late nights. Yeah.
They always turn into the parties, man.
Yeah, man. But hey, if people want to go and hang out and jam, who am I to say no?
Go hang out and jam.
Yeah.
That's the nice thing about having like a house or a spot. I remember I used to do that back in the day when I first joined Tapatio. We had like little kickbacks at my apartment. Mm-hmm. It was a big apartment. I was like, I want the nice apartment. You know, I don't want 2 bedrooms. I want one with a big open area, right? Man, ask anybody like back in Tapatio those days. We used to have kickbacks, and those shits used to get out of control.
Yeah.
It was right before I met you. So we met at Mariachi Las Cruces, in 2010. I think it was
ish, yeah, somewhere around there when you went to go teach. Yeah,
that was a fun experience, man. Yeah. We had La Pinta.
That's the first time.
I still have the bottle. I still have the red bottle of La Pinta from that trip, dude. I'm like, I like to save bottles, and
the bottle's changed. Have you seen
it?
Yeah, they like redesigned it.
It's all weird and commercial. It doesn't look the same.
Yeah, I don't think it tastes the same either.
I don't think so either. I think they sold out, and then there's just some fucking recipe, and it's just whatever.
People like the pink tequila, just sell it.
Yeah, like that's not what that is, brother, man. I mean, we drank bottles of that stuff that night. I was so effed up that I remember 2 people that I know. Bob Costello was like, "Are you okay, Jason?" I'm like, "I'm fantastic."
Yeah,
we were done teaching, which means we're off the clock. You know, it's over. Checked out. We're done. We did the conference. Let's drink, right? And yeah, I remember drinking 1 bottle, and I saved 1 bottle for Tucson when I got home. It was awesome.
Nice.
I still have it. I should have brought it up here. I think it's up on top of the fridge.
I think that trip was like the first exposure to a lot of people for that bottle. Mm-hmm. Because I remember me and Louis used to kind of look for it.
It was only
we hang out, or Martin, or
you could only find it there.
It was kind of weird, yeah. And after that, it's like I've always just kind of kept an eye out for it, you know, thinking that
maybe it'll pop up.
Maybe it'll pop up, yeah. Because those are good times, man. When we shared that bottle, yeah. I don't know. Somebody sold out, yeah, for sure.
That's one thing about the podcast. I don't think I ever want to sell this out. If it gets big, if it gets like like fucking Joe Rogan, who else is gonna do with PlayMariachi Podcast?
You'd be surprised, man.
I know some people out there.
Yeah, I don't know.
It'd be interesting. I'd like to talk to most other mariacheros and mariacheras out there and just get their kind of perspective. And, that's what we called you up. We just played a gig, a nice little restaurant gig.
Yeah.
Harp is badass, by the way. Who made that harp?
That's El Fego Villegas.
Villegas?
Yeah, he's out of Jalapa, Veracruz.
Oh, okay. So he's from the motherland.
He's the motherland harp maker.
Mother effer.
Yeah, and I like his stuff, not only because it sounds good, but because he's very innovative. So every year he comes out with a new model, and he's always trying to improve.
Oh wow!
Which is cool. He's a very innovative guy, and in my experiences with other harp makers, they tend to just be they've been made like this forever. So why change it? Yeah,
kind of like
it's a very they always coin the term traditional. It's like don't mess with the traditional design, and it's like
it's an instrument. Brother.
I'm kind of seeking more. Yeah, like I need more capacity in this.
I need some oomph, right? Because this only lasts for so long.
Or the lack of this thing, or the kind of creates a limitation. So for example, like the levers on the harp, that's a huge help. For me, because
I saw you switching them before, tonight.
Yeah, it's literally like a light switch kind of deal, right? Mm-hmm. Whereas before, it's like you gotta, all right, what key we're playing in? Boom, 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 and you're like, 5 minutes later, you're in the key and the song's halfway done, and they're, it's hard to keep up with all these, arrangements that have modulations, every other measure, or stuff like that.
It's like,
really,
like, oh,
yeah, exactly, and it's hard, yeah. And so it's like, well, if you just want to play bass, like, well.
Kind of
you're downplaying your role
Yeah, man, because you tore it up tonight on that harp. I saw you flipping switches like a lowrider guy, man. I was just like, and I heard it too. I was like, bang, boom, boom, boom. I was like, whoa.
Yeah.
That's fucking awesome.
It's cool. And so that opens up the door too for a lot of like exploration in terms of chord and chord structures and
for harp
tensions.
players.
Well, yeah, I mean, you start, I don't know much about jazz, but, de vez en cuando I'll go research some chords and why certain chords work together nicely because, they create some kind of tension and then once you pull you back. So you start involving yourself in chord extensions, 7, 9s, 11s, 13s. I was
going to say like sliding sevenths. Jazz piano players like dun 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 dun. Those are sliding seven chords.
So you could do a lot of stuff, passing tones, and so I mean, and that's just the lever, right? A lot of people that I've seen just use the levers just for tuning, right? Well, we're going to the next song, boom, boom. So even then, it's like, well, you're not really maximizing the use of this lever. It has an amazing capability of you meet it halfway and do your studies, and
you can modulate on a harp now.
It's chromatic. It's a chromatic instrument, just like a guitar with frets, right? It's all available to you. It's more of how much do you want to sit down and practice and really,
get your timing right.
Be
able to move and switch. And
it's a whole. In a way, you're like relearning everything because it's not
the original harp you learned on.
Yeah, correct. But you can still preserve the style. I mean, you don't really change anything playing wise. It's just now you have more tools to add to the flavor, of what comes out of your harp and your particular style. So I don't know. I think the more tools you have in your toolbox, the more interesting you can play. Yeah.
And it's true. It's not just the player. I mean, I think that I used to follow Paco de Lucia when I was a little bit before he died. I got into flamenco playing. I suck worse at flamenco than I do at mariachi. So I was trying to play the compás, and I got really into Paco de Lucia. And the one thing he talked about before he died was the instrument, right? Yeah, with practice and with commitment and talent, you can play anything, right? I mean, we know guys that you give them a shoebox of strings and they're gonna
they'll make that thing sing.
Yeah, but the instrument itself, it brings a whole nother level of I don't have to push as much effort into what I'm doing, right? Because the instrument is like, oh, whoa, okay, this is putting me on a whole nother level.
Yep.
Okay, well, let's put that energy somewhere else, and you can just really take it out there and really control how you play your chords.
Yeah, because you don't have the instrument like fighting back.
Yeah, there's no friction.
Yeah.
That's probably another one of the reasons why. I mean, I don't want to be a poster boy for Candela's guitars. I probably am at this point, but I just keep coming back to their stuff, to their brand. Not just the current generation, Tomas, in the shop in LA, but his dad and his grandfather's great uncle. Yeah. I've got guitars from all of them, and they all have the same like characteristics where they're pushing. Like I see his great uncle's work, and his great uncle, there's a couple of flaws, right? A couple of things here. I see his dad's work. It's like. It's near perfect, almost there, right? I was just at a shop earlier this year, picking up that guitar, and I was playing some stuff, and it's like the stuff that he's putting out is starting to. That doesn't have those flaws, like the flaws that are in some of the older work.
Correct.
He's corrected. He's like, okay,
yeah,
I understand the tension, I understand the position, I understand the angles, I understand all the mathematics inside the guitar. I'm gonna fix them, right? No disrespect to anything before you, right? But you're just like again.
It's a learning process, right? You're innovating within your own design, right? You learn from 30, 40, 50 years of someone else's experience. In his case, his dad, his grandfather.
Yeah, he's got like 80 years of knowledge.
So, so in reality, it's like, well, I would hope you're doing better because you've had to learn, right? You've had multiple generations to learn from,
It should be pushing.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I mean, when I took that guitar to his shop last year, it's a flamenco guitar, and I was playing it because I wanted to get a gauge. I was going to buy the mariachi guitar, right? Yeah. And I'm like, all right, I'm a snob, right? I'm not a great world-class player, but I know enough to like see something that's subjectively good or bad, right?
Correct. Yeah.
Or sometimes objectively, like that is not.
Yeah, there's dead giveaways, right?
Yeah, you're like that's complete and total horseshit. Sometimes when you see someone do something, right?
Yeah.
But I compared them. I was playing one of the super expensive Especial mariachi guitars, right? Then I was playing that guitar.
That's like the one, I think Jonathan Palomar, right?
The one he uses, I was playing that, and I'm just like, I'm sitting there. I tell my wife, I was like, this that I'm playing right now is like this much better than his dad's stuff. I can feel it. I can feel what he's bringing to the table, and I'm like, dang, that's impressive.
Correct.
It's like when you can feel like that millimetrically increasing margin, right? You're like, whoa, okay, I have access to stuff that I didn't have access to
exactly
before.
yeah
It's like, damn, that's sweet, dude. I mean, so that harp is badass.
I love it. Yeah, I have, that's my first Viegas harp, but I've ordered I think like 4 or 5 of them
for Tucson.
Yeah, there's like 2 coming this week or next week, something like that.
Dang, for like Pueblos group and all that.
Yeah, Johnny is gonna get a second harp for Aslan, and then Justin, one of his Tucson High students, is buying one, which is
how much do those go for
cool.
in usual?
Those, so the standard model is about $2,000.
Not bad.
Which isn't bad. Yeah, I mean,
like a concert harp will cost you a couple G's.
Correct. Yeah,
at least.
Yeah, the one that I have right now is about $3,500. But I added, the levers are they're Camax. They're from France, so I had to get those shipped in. By the time you factor in all the costs, right, you got an import fee from the U.S. to Mexico, which I should have just shipped them from Nogales, but
I should have just went down there and made a weekend.
Yeah, and then so like the pickup too. I have a premium pickup.
You freaked everybody in the restaurant out. Like
when they heard
with the pickup, yeah.
Because
they were
and it's a little crappy speaker. I need a better speaker, but I mean, it gets me out of, all the noise and stuff. Because the first hour, even at Guadalajara Grill, man, I was just killing my nails week after week, and it's like, I could just fake everybody out and just put a little speaker in.
It crowded the whole room. It flooded the whole room with sound. It was like,
yeah.
Was like,
and that harp cuts through sound good, man.
Yeah, it did. That's why I was just like, 2 weeks ago, I'm like, I couldn't find a second violinist for this like gig. We just, in Phoenix, guys, for viewers on YouTube, we just kind of debuted this past couple hours ago in a little restaurant in Tempe, new mariachi group, Mariachi Revolucion. It's kind of a weird name. I don't know if I'm totally happy about it. It fits with what we're trying to do in Phoenix. It's just kind of, look, nobody's perfect, right? It's like, but if you have like the ganas to want to change and like play, if there's a symphony orchestra in Phoenix, I don't know of a group that's going to be at that level to play with a symphony orchestra in Phoenix. Not here, not right now.
Correct.
That's an inspiration. Like, we would want to do something like that, right?
I would say that's probably one of the pinnacles, I guess you could say, like an apex of of folk music to be put together with symphony. And then so that they're able to, somebody somewhere had to sign off on it and said, hey, this group's probably worthy enough to get together with these pro classical musicians.
They're not going to be a waste of time.
Correct. Yeah. And there's something beautiful that can come out of that.
Because it's not just the money, right? Because they get paid no matter what.
Correct. Yeah.
It's their time.
Yeah.
You only live for so many years, and you only have so many concerts and so many gigs a year and a month and a week.
Correct.
You can't waste time with people that don't know what they're doing. Don't have the ganas to be better, right?
Yeah, it's bad for morale and like. Yeah. I mean,
is this where I ended up in my life?
Yeah.
Is this where I ended up?
Correct.
Like,
yeah.
God.
So I think that'd be cool. That's something that I've always enjoyed, even growing up as I saw like Vargas and Sol and Camperos and
people play
with the symphony, dude, and it's like a whole other, realm of music because you're like, damn, I've heard that song before, but
not like that.
Not like that, yeah. There's like a wall of sound behind the mariachi, And
it's going all the way back to like Ruben Fuentes.
Yeah.
All how he came from a classical background and went to school in the conservatory in Mexico, and
that's a full circle kind of cycle, right?
It's brilliant. I love it, right? It makes me happy about like spending hours practicing, spending thousands of dollars in lessons and trajes and instruments and just being totally about it, right? It's like just to see that connection come back in your lifetime. Like, not who else gets to see that? Like, what other genre? There's no genre. Like, you're not going to go play with Dizzy Gillespie if you're not going to play with B.B. King if you're a guitar player. You're not going to see Miles Davis if you're a trumpet player.
Yeah.
There's no other genre like that.
Yep. That's true.
So it's nice, man. So yeah, we debuted in Phoenix. Hopefully I can get more folks out here. And that's what I was stressing out. Like when I texted you, bro, I'm like, who am I going to, I need another violinist.
Yeah.
But I don't really know. Like the one there was one guy here, if he's watching, that was busy. And he just couldn't make it. And I was like, okay, well, that's fine. You can't do it, man. Maybe, future gigs. And I'm sitting here thinking, I'm like, hey, Adrian, what are you doing on?
Oh yeah.
What are you doing on that Saturday? You gonna do something? Let's get you on the podcast. Let's get you some gigs. Let's get you paid. That's kind of like the idea. It's like we'll have someone on the podcast and has time, record, talk about mariachi in general, the culture, and then go play, go chamba, right? Get you paid,
fed, for sure.
Have a good time.
That's always good if you can tie in a chamba with other things going on. Like and it worked out because I was already here teaching.
Yeah, you had
earlier today. Yeah, that's another kind of interesting thing that's unfolding. Is a lot of people are starting to call me back in Tucson to say, hey, you know what, we need help here in Phoenix. And I guess I'm assuming there's not a lot of teachers here for whatever reason, right? That might be something for you to uncover. And why that's what stuff.
Me and Miguel are trying to unfold here. Is okay. There's plenty of talent. Yeah. We've established that, but like the ability to say, hey, maybe not everything is okay. Maybe everything is okay, but here's some stuff. Here's some Miguel Aceves Mejia with Mariachi Vargas in the background. Listen to some of these guapangos. Here's Tlen Hucani, right? The jarochos, right? The Huasteco players. Yeah. Let's listen to some of that, right? Let's listen to some actual, like, Agustin Lara, right? Let's listen to some Jorge Negrete, and let's listen to, like, let's even go back further. Let's listen to Marmolejo, right? And see how rural that used to sound, right? Like, that sounds rough. You listen to, like, Marmolejo recordings of, like, those little phonic things, and you're just like, what are they doing? Yeah. Like, that's really rough, man. It's like dun 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 it's like real basic, real standard. You're like, so is that the standard?
Super raw. Yeah, that's raw. The thing, right? Yeah. A lot of people like to say, oh, well, they always revert back to the standard,
right. Mariachi Vargas, 1937. Mariachi Vargas, 1966. Yeah. Pepe Martinez, Mariachi Vargas, 1971 through 79, 84, 85.
Yeah, and they're all different. You pick them apart, all the generations, and you're like,
how do I follow any of this, right? So it's like, you got to study all of it. That's usually what I tell people. It's like, if you want to really get involved and not just be like a guy in the group, right? Because most armonia players, or violinists, like they get a teacher and they follow the teacher, right? Yeah. That's fine. I'm like that.
They're like clones, like baby clones.
Like little baby, little violinist clones of whatever their teacher was.
Correct.
So I got lucky that I went from Pueblo High School to the U of A. Went straight to college. And in the music department, they had a huge donation from the Rodstadt family of records, discs, CDs, of all of their family's music collection that they had, like going back generations into Mexico. So I got to catalog some of that music as part of like a ethnomusicology class to get my music degree. Yeah. And so what did I do? I downloaded it all to my computer. And so as I'm cataloging everything, I have another USB drive into my computer going, and I'm just cataloging all the timing and everything, and downloading all that shit right there into that little black box, dude. So I got like a month's worth of just old recordings. Nice. And I just listened to them at work, and I'm like, oh, that's different. Oh, that's interesting. And now you can go to YouTube, but back in the day, like 05, 06, you didn't have any of YouTube. Yeah. You didn't have none of that.
You get together with your buddies, right, and have them burn a CD for you.
Yeah, I had a massive CD collection of like Los Galleros and all kinds of cool stuff that I got from Pueblo, and they got stolen. Damn. Like my first year of college, my car got broken into. It was all gone. I'm like, what are you going to do with Sol de Mexico CDs, bro? Why'd you steal my stuff like that, right? They probably chucked it. They're like, this is just a bunch of mariachi. And
some frat dudes are just like putting it on their party.
Yeah, they're like, what is this? Just throw it away. Yeah. So it was a bummer, man, but I got lucky. I got access to that. Downloaded all that music in the library, School of Music, and yeah, man, I don't play it perfectly. Yeah. But
you're exposed to it nonetheless, right? I mean, that's a huge thing. So for me, as soon as I can get my hands on recordings, when I was younger, I started mariachi, 2004. Yeah, 2004. I was 14 years old.
About the same time I did. I was about 15. Yeah. Well, a little bit earlier than that. But like the Changos was 2004 for me.
Yeah. Huh. Yeah, so it's kind of the same.
Yeah, same time. Like, so really dedicated.
Yeah. And so at that time I was like, all right, man, I want to learn this well. I was a classical guitar player. I never played mariachi until 7th grade. Mm-hmm. So then I jumped in, and then I saw Mariachi Vargas there in El Paso, and I'm like, man, so I bought their CDs there at the concert, and then I started seeing there's a lack of resources, right? There's no CDs, YouTube wasn't around, and I think there was like Napster or something back then, but they had all the Walmart CDs. Yeah. So that was my first stop. I literally went to Walmart and 30 pegaditas en Vargas, and it has all the old stuff, and once you start buying CDs, you start noticing it's the same recycled tracks, just over and over, packaged different, with a new cover and blah blah blah. So then at some point I was like, I think I like maxed out all my purchases here at Walmart in terms of mariachi.
Bought all the stuff.
Yeah, I went to Circuit City, to Best Buy, to all the digital platforms.
Shit that does not exist anymore.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And so what I started actually doing when I was in college was I'd go to Juarez. I had like a 3 or 4 hour break in between classes. Mm-hmm. So I literally go to Juarez and have lunch, and then I would go to all the Casa de Música.
Yeah.
All the Casas de Música. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And so I would literally start, going one shop and then take all the mariachi CDs, and they were like $3, dude.
Damn.
Because nobody buys. I mean, that wasn't.
In Mexico, nobody.
Yeah, they were close to being, thrown in a box and thrown on the dumpster.
Yeah. So
they were dirt cheap. So I got my hands on everything, which was kind of cool because I got the whole Vargas catalog when they were with, I think Sony BMI or something like that.
Yeah, BMI.
Yeah.
Yeah, every time I do a cover on YouTube, BMI flags me for copyright. I'm just like, man, those guys.
Yeah, dude. So then I started collecting CDs, Mexico de Pepe Villa. I got the old school Marmolejo CDs that were out.
They
the Vargas stuff. Them. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I think Smithsonian was the one putting them through or whatever.
Yeah.
So I literally got, so my CD thing, my CD stash went from like the 4 or 5 CDs I could find at Walmart to like 40 CDs all of a sudden.
Of stuff. I'm just listening to all the polkas, all the sones.
Yeah, and then from there, so then I started, my dad had a whole bunch of Vicente CDs and Alejandro CDs and Jose Alfredo. So I combined all of those, and then literally I started becoming like a nerd, man. I would lock myself in my room, and I had these speakers and just blast everything out, dude, and I would just like play along. Yeah, and that's kind of like the old school way, I guess, compared to now, right? I didn't have any music. I just like, hey, I like this song, so I'm going to just sit in my room, blast it until I figure out whatever chord.
Yeah.
And, I probably went through every single song. Like you said, I didn't learn it 100% right,
but familiar.
But it's in my ears, and it's always like, all right, well, in case somebody calls this for whatever reason at a gig, I know where I can, play around with certain chords, or I know the melody. The melody's going to guide me through everything,
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
So I think just being able to spend the time and sit down, and just be like kind of going through song by song, album by album, and just kind of figuring out that everything has a nuance to it,
Yeah.
And now you could say, oh, well, Javier Solis CDs or songs have a certain pattern.
Right.
Jose Alfredo has a certain pattern, and it starts becoming the cajon is basically what it is.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
It's just the repertoire at that point, right?
Yeah.
It's like, how close do you emulate what that sounds? Because living up here, what I've realized that I didn't quite realize when I was in Tucson, just because you're always playing, right? From when you're in a high school group all the way through, right? You don't have an appreciation for really what you're doing.
Yeah.
But some people, like there was like some older people in the restaurant tonight, right? They start going crazy when we play like the old stuff, right? But it doesn't sound like the old stuff.
Yeah, correct.
It's like the only time they hear those songs is when they're listening to like a record or a disc or maybe
the original way it was recorded.
The original way. And then they hear us perform it live. And they're like, it takes them back 40 years.
Yeah.
Right then and there. It's just like, oh shit, that's what we're doing. That's why we get paid. Yep. Like that doesn't click in your head when you're like a young high school mariachi student. You're just like,
correct. I'm
learning Huapango de Mancayo. Okay, down up, 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 and it's like,
it's a very mechanical process.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, it lacks that whole part of like emotion and connecting with
the feelings.
A crowd. Yeah, because in reality, it's like, all right, here's a stack of music. We got to play this concert by the end of the year. Learn it. You're gonna put the suit on. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right, and it's like, all right, well, how was the repertoire selected? Yeah, there's a whole bunch of things that.
Yeah.
It becomes a very mechanical process, and you don't get to, as a student, you don't really get to know what it's like to take somebody back 40 years
until you get to this point.
Until you get to some gig, right? So like some ladies asking for a song,
and even at a gig, like maybe you don't. Me and Miguel have talked about this. Like when you're like a 20, maybe before 25, you're playing gigs. You're playing chamba. You don't really have an appreciation for the song that people are requesting. You're just like, I don't want to play that song again. I play that song every weekend.
Yeah.
And it's like, dude, that lady is like remembering her dead husband when you play that song, bro. You better play that the best you can play it, right? And make it sound really good. Chingon, right?
Yep.
It's like that gets you the repeat business. Like,
correct.
Tocan los canciones viejas, right? And then we'll try to play something a little more like concert showy like we did tonight, like Fiesta. That was almost a train wreck, but we pulled it together. It was
yeah, there were some
slow parts in there. I was like, oh, okay, he's starting it already. The trumpet guy, okay, right. Let's get it back. Let's get it back.
See, but that's so going back to the whole like CD thing. If you've heard it before, you know, you're like, all right, well, maybe we screwed up this part, or this part never happened.
Yeah,
but we can jump on because we know how the next part. Yeah,
right. The next cadence.
You know, so that's not the way it should be, but it allows you to like BS your way through.
It certainly shouldn't be like that on stage, right?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
But at a small gig, you know, it's like, all right, it's not too bad.
Correct. It was like a pop quiz kind of thing.
A little bit.
Right. Hey, let's do this. Let's do that. Let's do that. I don't know it, but all right.
Let's do it.
Correct. Because at some point you're gonna have to face it, right? Whether you're in your house practicing or whether you're at a gig, and
I just don't know enough.
Yeah, the vergüenza is gonna drive you to learn it, dude.
Either that or get out of the game, right?
Yeah.
But see, that's part of the problem that Miguel and I talk about here in Phoenix is some people don't get out of the game up here.
Mm-hmm.
They just keep doing the same thing over and over and over and over again, and that just becomes over time some sort of pseudo standard.
Yeah.
They just never leave, right? It's like you don't have to be outstanding to succeed at something. You just have to not quit.
Correct.
To be outstanding, you have to put in the work, right? Put in the time.
Yeah.
I've been stressing about this like the last 2.5 weeks, man. I'm like, I don't know how it's going to go. I don't know how it's going to sound. I don't know how I'm going to sound. I'm like, I'm sweating it out. I'm like, am I going to be able to hold my own on vihuela? I haven't been playing vihuela for like the last 6 months.
Yeah.
Been doing nothing but guitarrón and then my guitar videos, right?
Yeah.
But I love the vihuela. That's what I call my mistress. Like, I fell in love with the guitar at a very young age. It's all I ever wanted to play. But then you get the vihuela, and it's like, the vihuela is like the awesome side chick, man. She's always there. Text her up. It's like, vihuela's right there. It's like, it's all good.
Man.
So I was sweating it out because when I first started learning, when I was in Chongos, I would only play guitar.
Yeah.
And then about 1.5 years in, I got a vihuela, and I would only play vihuela at home.
Yeah.
And then I would play it on guitar. And my teacher was a vihuela player. And so when I would learn things, I would learn it first on vihuela, then I would perform it on guitar. I carried that process like until like last year when I left Tucson. Like when Mariachi Tapatio would send music to do for shows.
Yeah.
Like I couldn't be at all the rehearsals because I was really like overworked, and well, you know, we both work at the same place, and it was really stressing me out. And I'm like, okay, what can I do? How can I do this? It's like, okay, so I would get the score, I'd read all the violin parts, read all the trumpet, practice it on vihuela, rememorize it on guitar, and then play it on bass. And so then when the show, like the Gaslight shows would come up, I'm like, and this happened to me like a couple of times. Like we had a guy, I think Aguilar was playing guitarrón for our bass player.
Yeah.
And something happened. He like got numb hand or something.
Oh, crap.
And he couldn't play the next set.
All right, you're up next, man.
You're up next. Davenport, let's get it. And I'm like, I was only supposed to learn it on guitar.
Correct.
But if I didn't have my process and how I normally do things, there's no way. That would have been a train wreck, right? Because it was a real slow song, but there was a lot of melody written in there.
Correct.
So the bass had some stuff. And I was like, okay, let's get it. And I went up there. I'm like, all right, I didn't plan to do this. Let's get it. Ready? You guys ready to go? Okay, let's do it. And I'm just like, Jesus, thank God for like education.
Yeah.
That's like the biggest thing, man. I look at mariachi today and I'm like, stay smart, stay in school, get educated, man. Learn everything you possibly can while you have time and you don't have bills, right? Because
they'll creep up on you, man, and suck all your time away.
Yeah, it gets there quick, right? You're like, oh, got to make that mortgage payment, got to make that car payment. Oh, I got a girlfriend now. I got to pay for drinks and
adulting.
And adulting, yeah, exactly. Got to pay for flights. Like, well, what do I give a shit about frequent flyer miles, man? And then all of a sudden it becomes an issue, right? You're just like, damn.
Yep.
So you started, we established you were about 14 when you started.
Yeah.
So what's kind of your pedigree through the muddy? Everybody knows you. You've played with so many people, and you're so cool and chill and like laid back, and it doesn't go to your head at all, man. I'm just like, so what's kind of like your pedigree? You started in El Paso, right?
Yeah. So I started playing classical guitar when I was not even classical guitar. So I went to Catholic school when I was in elementary, and I started playing music in general through the church nun. So church music, right? Like a lot of people in Tucson have that
connection,
that pedigree, forefront is that they always play for a church somehow, or church music, or right. It's very easy to get into, and it's a community thing, and there's a lot of teachers that are involved with that. Like Dr. V, for example, right? He's been known to have a church group, the rondalla, right, of guitars, forever, And so through that, there's been a lot of people that you learn your first 2, 3, 4 chords, and it's like, all right, well, that's your stepping stone, and
your life is screwed from that point on.
Yeah, dude. Right? Because you get into the mechanics of it, and it becomes like a form of enjoyment. Yeah. So
then it becomes a job.
Yeah. But if you enjoy it, then it doesn't feel like a job.
It doesn't feel like a job. It feels like a job you like going to, and you get paid for it.
Yeah.
More per hour than you would like if you were bussing tables.
Correct. That's even more of a reason to do it right.
Hell yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like
you keep that steady gig every weekend. Pays your bills. It pays your tuition.
Correct.
Pays for your meals. If your tuition is covered and you still want to eat well.
That's how I sell off like playing music and mariachi and stuff to a lot of my students. Is like, I'm not trying to train you to become the best violin, guitar, whatever mariachi player. Like, just use it. It's a vehicle to get ahead in life and college, and
discipline.
It'll pay for a lot of stuff when you could be pouring coffee at Starbucks for $9 an hour.
It's like all I gotta do is anybody available for a gig. Yep.
Yeah, dude.
And you're on for 6 hours. Like, whoa, there's my
your rent
payment.
or something. Yeah, exactly.
Half of your rent or something like that.
Yeah, man.
So you started with church, playing guitar.
Yeah, so I was 7 years old, and then I went through elementary, and I had a point there. I don't know if a lot of people have that, but I just got sick of playing. I hated to practice, and I wanted to go outside and ride bikes with my friends and play hide and seek in the street. Yeah. Yeah, so I stopped playing guitar for a little bit, probably like 2-3 years.
Dang. That's quite a long hiatus.
Yeah. I don't know, one day I put the guitar away and I just left it in its case and didn't see it for 3 years. And then all of a sudden I went to middle school, and so I was registering for classes, and so an elective came up, right? An elective slot, and there's like, so you want to go to this like typing class, or we have cooking or whatever, or we have music if you want to do that, a guitar class. So I'm like, all right, well, I'll do.
I got a guitar in the house.
Exactly, yeah. I was like, I'll pluck a few notes. I kind of know some chords. I should be all right,
I'll get an A.
Easy A. A. So then I got there to class, and then they're like, hey, you're kind of ahead of everybody. Why don't you come help me up here in the front instead?
I was like, oh shit.
And so the guitar teacher was actually the mariachi teacher also. So then she started helping me out, and little did I know I was part of her plan she was making me into a mariachi. All of a sudden she's like, hey, why don't you come to Saturday rehearsal?
Yep.
And this and that, and then a gig, and then the conference. She invited me to the conference to Las Cruces.
Ooh.
When I was 7th grade. Yeah.
How much does that mess you up as a young mind when you see like the Camperos play for the first time, or Vargas or Cobre?
So Cobre, yeah. So Frank Grijalva was actually my first like mariachi guitar teacher in the conference realm.
Dude, badass, man.
Yeah, dude. Like, and I got there, and it's kind of crazy. That was the first time I went to the conference, and as a kid, it was like, cool. I got to go with my friends. I got to skip school. Right. I got to eat hot Cheetos all night.
Hang out.
Yeah, exactly. And all right, well, who doesn't want to do this? Yeah, exactly. And meet all these like amazing musicians and stuff. So like I said, Frank Grijalva was my first guitar teacher there, and so he kind of just like, he was a really hard teacher. He expected a lot music theory wise.
I've heard stories of Frank where he would write part writing on the board.
Dude, yeah.
If you don't know this,
you need to go back a level.
Go back a level. I've heard stories like that. I'm like,
yeah. And so that was kind of my. And I think for like 2 years, 2-3 years maybe, I snuck into every little kid, they want to be in advanced. They don't know 2-3 chords, but they're all in advance, and you're like, oh yeah.
What is this?
So I can understand why that was his way of like filtering people back to where they belong.
Time.
Yeah, and in reality, it's like it might be like a teacher ego thing, or the kid themselves that they want to be in advance, but they're hurting themselves more by sitting there for 5 hours, 3 days, out of the week, and not knowing anything. Right? They're just like.
Well, they're overwhelmed. Like, I don't understand any of this.
Yeah, it's just way past their head and their knowledge, so. But yeah, that was one of Frank's exercises. I remember he would play something and he's all, write it for me. Ooh. And so we're there like trying to figure it out, and
dang,
it was rough, man. But I understand totally where he's coming from, and and
you probably do the same thing now, huh?
Oh yeah, I push music reading and writing pretty hard on my students, because that's the only way time efficiency that you're going to get them to play through lots of music.
Right.
Otherwise, you're teaching everything by ear, which, I mean, that's a skill in itself, and I respect that. But I think a combination of both is kind of the best approach.
Needed. It's really needed for both, right?
Yeah, because if you want to increase your repertoire, the capacity of your repertoire and quantity,
you need to be able.
You can't do everything by ear. Yeah, you can either hear it, and if you're really good, you'll just pull it out and boom, boom, boom.
But then you got to be
able
500
to read songs deep. Yeah,
yeah. You got to be able to read something that a director writes for you.
Correct. Yeah.
Quick, right? Yeah. We don't got a lot of time. Recording studio time costs money.
Yeah.
Read that lead sheet and let's play it one time through. It's like okay. It's like oh shit.
Yeah, man. So Las Cruces went around and that was pretty awesome, and that was my first conference experience. And then after that, I became part of the mariachi full time, and that kind of broke into a community group that I was part of, which I was in for a couple of years. And the reason that happened was just because some people had gotten out of middle school and they were going to high schools where there wasn't mariachi. So they're like, well, let's keep the group together. And, you know, it wasn't, the trajes and everything were owned by the middle school. So it's like, well, now we got to fundraise to buy trajes. And we got to hire directors. And
do it the hard way.
Yeah. So at that point, then we were under the directorship of Los Arrieros there in El Paso.
Oh, man.
So I studied under them. Solid. Yeah. They were top of the game there in El Paso for a few years. And so, you know, that was cool because then I got exposed into like reading music, and their guitarrón player Javier, he's the one who opened my eyes up to all the theory. You know, we started going
like part bass.
Well, so what he did, so more like cajon stuff. So we would do exercises of círculos in every single key.
Oh yeah,
how to figure that
all
out?
Primera,
segunda, tercera, yeah, all the minor vueltas. So I was learning the bass and the armonía in theory at the same time and how they work together, and so that really kind of clicked with me, and I was really thankful for that lesson because to this day, you know, I would credit him and opening up my eyes. Yeah, I use it every single gig, man.
I used it 2 hours ago.
Yeah, every time I flip that lever, man, that's theory happening, you know, in the back of my mind. So that's another thing I push, you know, for students of mine early is like, we got to hit the theory. You got to know what key you're in. You got to know why your instrument's tuned this way. And
it's just like engineering. You can't go to circuit design without understanding vector calculus.
Yeah,
it doesn't work.
You're just gonna cross your fingers and like, luck, man.
I think I understand the build here, right? It's like you don't understand the mathematics.
Yep,
it's gonna fail.
Yeah, and if you get lucky, you know, something later down the line is gonna
fail.
It's gonna suck, and you're gonna get back down on your knees and
pray for forgiveness.
Yeah,
it's like, oh man.
Yeah.
Same with music, right? It's like. If you go through like if you get dedicated to a group or like at a high level, I'm like I've seen you play with like high level groups. Like the first time I met you, you were playing harp on stage with Cobre.
Wow. Yeah, 2010.
Yeah.
Cobre, yeah, that was cool, man. Having Randy next to you, you're just like, oh.
Is that intimidating? I think I'd be shaking.
On stage, you know, a lot of people ask me that. You know, on stage, I don't really get intimidated at that point because you've already gone through multiple rehearsals. I'm more scared of the rehearsal. And showing up and making sure you got all your stuff ready to go, and that's where they're allowed to stop and hey, what are you doing? You know, why are you doing it like this? Or you're more vulnerable in that setting in a rehearsal. And on stage, it's like this is already the final thing, dude. You're just like machine, like clockwork. You know,
just go through it.
Yeah,
set it out right.
So that's
like I have dreams, like I have recurring dreams that I'm playing on stage with the Camperos or Cobre. I remember one dream so vividly where I was playing El Pasajero with Camperos, and Nati was there, and he was just like, he left. He's like, you keep playing, and he went to go do crowd work.
Yeah.
And in my dream, I'm just like, I'm shitting my pants. I'm just like, how am I gonna do this? This is crazy. There's no way.
Yeah.
And then I woke up. I was like, Jesus.
But you know very well that it was possible, right? He was prone to.
He was prone to do that. Yeah.
You would see even like at the Tucson sound checks, you know. He'd pick some kid out of the. Yeah, I think Jose Tun did it one year. He did a sound check, and he's like, "Hey, you with the guitar, get up on stage, play here's these chords, go over with them," and then he'd go off and do the Naticano thing,
do the sound check.
Yeah, and then you know the guitar guys are like, "What am I doing?" You know. But to know that that's a possibility is kind of motivating, you know, because it's like, all right, it's all about timing. The way I see, you know, even as groups change and evolve, it's like if you're the guy that happens to be in the right spot.
Seize your moment.
Yeah. Strike while the iron is hot, man.
Don't mess it up.
But you've had all your time to
prepare,
to learn your scales, to learn the tuning, to learn songs, to go over all the recordings. Right? There's just if that's really what you want, you have to be ready to strike, man. Once that opportunity presents itself,
you get up there, you're like, all right, let's go get it.
Yeah, dude.
Fail. It's like
that's it. Yeah.
You missed your shot right there, bro.
It's all about timing, man.
Dang.
So, but yeah, I guess going back to my pedigree or whatever of playing.
Your lineage, right?
Yeah, like my background in music and how I came about in mariachi.
At this point, you're still just learning guitar, right?
Yeah, I was guitar. Yeah.
So when did you get to harp?
So actually, it was. So Vargas would go for the mariachi extravaganza every year in El Paso. And Julio Martinez was a harpist at the time. Mm-hmm. And so everybody, there's 100 guitars, and Palomar takes them, or Arturo Vargas or whatever. Pato goes with 50 vihuelas. The violins go with 1,000 violins and 40 trumpets. But the harp guy, Julio was like, nobody has a harp. I'm gonna just hang out. So he was practicing his stuff for the show.
Yeah.
And so he was kind of in the corner playing. I think at the time Carmentea was the big hit.
Oh,
It was that. Yeah. So he was doing all the solo. Yes. Damn. So, I was always like listening into what he was doing while I was over here in the class. Just it always poked at me, and so I got curious and I went and talked to him. And, hey, what's that instrument do? And it was the first time I could play the instrument and just like poke around and see what it feels like and all that stuff like that. And so it was pretty cool. And I've always been like, maybe that's part of the engineering part is like curious. I want to see how things work and why they work, and like it's a puzzle. It's
how does that go?
It's just big mysterious instrument that I've never seen before.
Yeah,
let's go see what it's about.
Let's go get it. Let's go get it, man.
And so we're talking, and he showed me a few exercises in this, and so he tells me, he's like, hey, your hands, they seem pretty, like they're responsive to
the harp.
Yeah, and I think it was the classical guitar background.
It's the same shape.
It's like, it's a very relaxed technique,
like
and
just go like this.
And finger dexterity and kind of things like that, right? So I was like, all right, well, he's like, you should maybe look into finding a harp and investing in one, and if it works, it works, and if it doesn't, you can sell it. People always want to buy a harp.
Dang.
Yeah. So after that, I'm like, it sounds like a pretty good idea. So then I was able to track down a harp in South Texas, like in McAllen area, Brownsville, I think is what it was.
Oh yeah. I found like Morales bases and stuff like that down there. It's like,
yeah, dude.
Sheesh, picking grounds.
Yep. Oh yeah, EBN. So I got a harp and whatever, and then I started studying with the harp player of Los Arrieros at the time. Yeah, Omar. Who was the guy? Omar Lopez. He's actually I think he's a doctor of anesthesia now. Yeah, that's pretty cool, man. So maybe it's like the way the brain works. It kind of
common.
Yeah, if you want to be good at something, it's like a philosophy, right? You sit down and you put in your work, and as much time as you put in is what you're going to get out of it. It's very, it's like, to me, it sounds like a simple equation,
It really does. The hard part is the time.
Correct.
That's the hard part. That's where you're sitting there. You're like, I'm a little tired. I need more coffee.
But that's all a discipline. Yeah, exactly. I mean, you want to be good at anything, you need to
push through it.
Exactly.
Push through the tired, man.
Yeah.
So you start learning harp. What was like the first, like you did, I know you played with Mariachi Tapatio in Texas. Is that the same thing? I know you
with Amelia. Huh?
Yeah, Amelia.
Yeah, with Amelia. Yeah, actually, so that was like my first like semi-professional group where I started gigging and playing for money and getting paid, because the community groups were just, it was run by parents, so they're like, yeah, you guys get paid for gigs, and then it goes into the pot, yeah. And then so we need trajes, we pull from that money. You guys need a print music, we pull from that pot,
And then you get to Amelia's group, and it's just like,
yeah. So she was actually the teacher. Like a computer teacher there at my high school, and I had known her actually, or known of her. She's very prominent, mariachi musician there in town.
Very not flamboyant, but like easily to approach personality.
Yeah.
Just like it's just like, hey, how's it going? Like, hey, it's nice to meet
personable.
you.
She's very personable.
Very personable. Yeah.
And then you hear her sing, and you're like, holy shit,
like,
she's freaking badass.
Yeah, just blowing sound right into my face.
Yeah, dude. So around that time, the group that she used to play with kind of not fell apart, but certain people got out, and they strategically put a group together. And that's where Tapatio kind of came out. They found a planta, kind of like you. They had a planta and they had a venue, and they're
base of operations.
Let's seize this opportunity and see where it goes. We'll put a small group together, and we'll see if we like working with each other. And they were all friends. So that's the other thing too about mariachi in El Paso, is that a lot of them have history,
friendship going back,
and other stuff, romantic and hatred, and there's a lot of there's drama to some extent between, and that's like anywhere, right? Everybody, I guess you could classify it as history,
kind of like Tucson.
People, I mean, like that's just part of growing up, and
it's in California too.
It's
everywhere, man.
Right? If you were to draw a map and start
piecing all the parts,
and do like a family tree thing of where they came from and who they played with, they'll all be at the same.
I swear, bro. Like
pot.
The guy that played violin tonight, Carlos.
Oh yeah.
His father used to be compadres with Cuco de Cid back in the day, and I was like, "Jeez, dude, like,
small world, man.
It's so small of a world, man. I'm like, that was my first group out of Changos was playing with Cuco.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, dang, dude, we had more lineage in common than I actually realized.
His dad is Marcelino? Or that's his tío?
I think that's his tío.
Yeah.
The guitarrón player?
Yeah.
His dad, that's his tío.
What's the last name of that family?
Cervantes.
Yeah, that's
old school Phoenix here.
Yeah.
So what I gathered was that Cuco, his father, they had a Mariachi Chapala or something like that. They were from that same area, right? And then they were in Tucson, and Cuco stayed.
And then this guy came up.
Yeah.
I think you talked about it, right, in another podcast. I was seeing it with... he was here, right?
Yeah, he was here.
Yeah.
We talked a little bit about it, because we're trying to, like, I don't know if we can mend or say, hey, you know, Tucson and Phoenix are not so far removed as we're seeing, right? So we need to kind of bridge the gap a little bit.
Correct.
You know, that's why I was like, it's badass that this new group has like half Tucson people, half Phoenix people, you know, just coming together, making it work, meshing together. It's like, hey, it's a little mother. If it's all good, you know, it's all cool. Yeah, sounds good. We got paid.
Yeah, it was pretty chill, man. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah,
good group of dudes, and they're wanting to
keep going,
make something out of it. You know, something of quality, and that's admirable, man, for sure.
They need someone to play halfway decently and manage the group. I'm like, I'll do it.
Yeah,
I'll do it. I can deal with people, and I can negotiate, and
all the business
side of stuff. No one wants to do that shit, but I guess I'll do it.
Hey, why not?
Why not? If I can do it, I'll do it. It's part of the skill set, right? It's what I went to college for, so I might as well put my U of A degree to work, right? Yep. It's served me very well so far in life.
Well, it's better than having somebody else manage it, and it just sucks, and you're just like,
shit.
Yeah, you have all the right ideas, but you're not the one driving the plane.
Not the one in charge.
It's like, all right, well, whatever.
It'll be a fun thing, and I'm a super chill guy. I'm just like, whatever, bro. Do what you got to do. Let's just show up here. Let's kill it. Peace out. Yeah. You know, move on with your life. You know, for the time that we're here, we're here. If we want to push further, you know, we'll push further. I'm down with that. Yeah. I've been sweating, like, having to write music. I'm like, I have not done that for a very long time.
There's a lot of guys out there, man, that can do it.
Do it like
outsource it.
Outsource it. Like, here's my arrangements. Here's my thoughts. Here's the generals. Just put some violin in it, please.
Yeah.
I'll pay you for it. So you start playing with Amelia's group. Where did you go after that? Because by the time I met you, you were on stage with Cobra, and I was like, "Who is this guy?"
Well, so that whole time I was like studying in the background with Checo.
Oh, okay.
In Los Angeles, yeah. So I would go summer break, Christmas break, and spring break every year for
study
5 years, something like that. So from when I was in high school, from my high school and partial college years.
Prodigy.
Not really. I was just hungry, man, and he was the only guy that could provide me with. You know,
and when guys like that see a hungry student, they're like,
and Checo, you know,
get him in here.
He opened the doors to me, man, and he, you know, taught me his way of playing, and you know, I'm forever grateful for that. And that's pretty awesome, you know, and it's kind of interesting because I see that a lot now at the conferences, and I'm sure it's been happening forever. Like, you make a relationship with a teacher, and you know,
it stays.
Yeah, but to some extent, they always tell you, you know, hey, if you're ever around my area, call me up. You know, we'll get together, we'll study. And I see that not a lot of people take them up for their offer.
What is that? Because I remember feeling some anxiety when I was a kid.
Yeah,
it's like, I'm worried. Like, if I call him up, will he be like, I'm too busy? Then I'll be like, damn, man, like never meet your heroes type of deal.
Correct.
Or it's like there's a little bit of that, or is it like truly like you don't really understand what you have in front of you, right?
That's true.
Like some of the kids who take him up on that offer, it's like, I'm sure that they do very well, right?
Yeah.
That's where the mentorship thing comes in handy. It's like,
correct.
When you get to our age, we have to be good stewards, right? We have to be good mentors. When we have a kid come along, it's like, we gotta, you know, not give them the right path, but it's like, hey, here's what I do. Here's what
and especially if you see like a spark in them, and you're like, this kid wants to learn. Like, I'm gonna give him until
all my knowledge.
Yeah, just right. And let him take it, and then he'll do whatever he wants to do with it. And you know, if they have that drive, it's like, all right, man, I'm here to help you out. Yeah.
Next time, then you're playing. Yeah. Then you're playing on stage next to them, right? In a couple of years.
So then it turned into like, all right, well, so I was practicing with Checo, and he would show me. You know, we went everything technique, super basic level stuff, which is cool because I learned, you know, the foundation, and it's interesting because Checo's foundation is from Iván Velasco and Alberto de la Rosa in Veracruz.
Yeah. Super down to the root, man.
Yeah.
That's about as authentic as you can get it.
Correct. And those guys are so like versatile and amazing at harp. Like those guys have figured out all the bugs of, you know, and how to make it so efficient so that to learn and to not just learn, but to be badass and play at their level, right?
Right.
So they transferred it to this mariachi guy, Checo, you know, and so he kind of spread it within his teachings and stuff like that. And, you know, there's a few of us out there that have that background. Yeah. And so naturally as a harp player, whenever you hear groups like Lemicani or guys like Ivan, your ear gravitates to it because that's like, it's along the same realm of what you play, you know, based on that.
Family.
Yeah, exactly. And then you see and you go up and talk to them and you look at their hands and you're like, yeah, man, I'm trying to
get to
play at that level, yeah, but it's the same lineage, you know. So that was pretty interesting. And so then I would go and visit and it was kind of interesting because Amelia played with Mujer 2000 at that time. So she would go rehearse with Mujer 2000 and then I would go with her to LA. So I'd go with Checo and then she'd go rehearse with Mujer and stuff. And so because of that, then I started getting familiar with people in LA and I would go do gigs there and, you know, kind of get my a little bit.
Rubbing
and
the shoulders a little bit.
Yeah. It was interesting the way, you know, I got that very early on.
Yeah. Not too many people either recognize that moment or take advantage of the moment in the right way, because some people will be more than happy to take advantage, but they're not ready.
Correct. Super green and stuff.
And it just like it destroys their whole path. Correct. You're just like, oh, you just totally wrecked that whole thing.
Yeah.
But it's like you were ready, you were prepared.
Well, so by that time I had already delved into a lot of that music theory that I talked about that Javier showed us, you know, so that started making sense because then I connected it to the guitarrón, and then I married the two concepts, and now lo and behold, you have the harp in front of you, and
there you
just put that into practice, and that kind of drives your whole, you know, way of playing, and it's all theory based, and everything's justified with chords and the bass line and everything like that, so it makes sense, you know. So when Cajon stuff came along at the gigs, it's like, well, I heard these songs before because I bought these CDs in Juarez 10 years ago. Yeah, so it's like I don't know, in a weird way, it's like everything kind of lined up somehow.
Almost perfect storm.
Yeah, but without even thinking about that was the end goal or the end result, right?
You just stayed focused, stayed dedicated, stayed disciplined.
Yeah, exactly.
Be smart, pay attention, right?
I just, whatever, what are they called? Things I can get my hands on, you know, whether it's recordings, whether it's teachers, whether it's access to, you know, films and DVDs and those PBS things that were being shot, you know, all over the place.
Those things are very invaluable, man.
Yeah.
Like you see, it's not just like the music. It's not just, La Viquina isn't just like a song on a record, right? Like there's a whole scene behind that whole song.
Correct. Yeah,
it's like, whoa. And there's words and all kind of stuff. And
it's to me, mariachi is like a very multi-dimensional thing.
Right.
In the sense, if you want to get good, it's not just playing the music well. It's like understanding who wrote it, why they wrote it, whose arrangement it is, like which group made it famous. There's a whole story behind this whole thing.
World, a whole universe behind it. Like when Cobre was doing their Tapatías potpourri.
Oh yeah, that's a beautiful potpourri.
Like those are legit songs I'd never heard before.
Yeah.
And then I go back and I'm like, oh, that's Jorge Negrete's shit. I'm like, I've listened to Jorge Negrete. Let's go back and listen to that. And it's like,
correct. Yeah.
I'm like, holy crap, dude. I'm like, this is badass.
Yeah, that's a good freaking potpourri.
It's like nobody listens to this stuff, man. It's like that's what I think is really being innovative.
Yeah.
Like, maybe not. And this is something Miguel and I have talked about. It's like. He seems to have. We're calling this segment Miguel's Gripes. So for Miguel, if you're listening to this, you're out there playing gigs right now. So have fun with that shit.
What grinds his gears?
What grinds my? You know what really grinds my gears? The fucking Family Guy.
Yeah. Chip Peter.
One of his gripes was talking about like English songs and like the Glenn Miller potpourri and all that kind of stuff.
I heard it. Yeah. So I've been keeping up with your podcast.
You're a dedicated listener, bro.
I mean, it's just like I said, it's a multi-dimensional thing, right? So if you can learn, the way I see it is, you can learn from anybody, whether they're not good players, whether they're barely starting, whether they've been playing for 30 years, whether they've played or not played with Varga. Like there's something to learn from everybody, and so
someone's mistakes
to be open to perspective, right? It's like, hey, this guy. It's a legitimate.
He's got something to show.
Opinion, you know. It's like, all right, man, I totally agree with you, or.
Yeah, he seems to have a gripe about it, and I'm just like, you know, I want to, you know, when I was doing music theory, that's one avenue to reach people that may see mariachi music as a backwater folk music, right?
Correct. Yeah.
You're like, well, no, what do you say about this? And you show them something like that. Yeah. And then you take out those Marmolejo recordings and Vargas recordings and say, look what happens in the side of 80 years.
Yeah.
Your jazz music, does it sound any different than Miles? No. Maybe you play better than Miles. Does your guitar playing sound better than BB King? Does your piano playing sound better than Dizzy Gillespie?
Yeah.
It's like, can you play all their repertoire and then improve on it?
Correct.
Not everybody can. I think that's what you go to college for, right? That's what those guys go to college for. They want to get it perfect. I
think so. Mariachi in general, the way from what I've read and researched and whatnot, a lot of it evolved because it wanted to be accepted. Some guy somewhere wanted it to be accepted, so let's throw a classical foundation on it.
Yeah, let's play Paso
Dobles. It's Ruben Fuentes, right?
Ruben Fuentes, yeah.
And so he puts a classical spin on it, and it's legitimate, and all of a sudden there's music involved, and
it blossoms.
They're able to marry it with orchestration and all these other weird instrumentations that you hear on, like Pedro Infante and Jorge Negrete. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But what that does is it opens up to a whole other demographic that otherwise wouldn't have heard.
Wouldn't have touched it. Wouldn't have even known to.
Relámpago, and they're like, what? But then they hear something, something that Miguel Aceves Mejia, like a badass guapango with flutes and stuff.
We just played that tonight. We played El Jinete tonight. It's
and you're like,
badass.
Holy shit, dude, it's cool. Yeah,
there's something here. Even people who don't understand Spanish, don't speak Spanish. Most comments I get back when we play stuff like that is like, I don't know what they're saying, but it sounds powerful.
But
and
I
love it. And I like it. And dude. You're like, that's
the power of music, right? Yeah. And that happens, and that's kind of interesting because you look at artists that tour all over the world, and it's like, for sure half the people don't understand in Africa don't know what Justin Bieber is saying,
right?
But somehow, somewhere,
they love it.
They feel it in their body, and they're just like, man, we really like this music. And it's like, all right, well,
and they go for it.
Yeah, exactly. So you don't have to be pulling, rabbits out of your hat to make people like what you're doing. You just play it and play it well.
Be
and
real.
Yeah, exactly.
Be prepared. All the shit we're talking about. How's this scotch, by the way?
Chingon.
We're just diving into mariachi nerd history right here. It's getting deep. Deep.
Yeah, man.
Man, I've had a little too much of this. I better put that back down. Still got to work tomorrow. Well, not work, but I gotta do a bunch of crap.
Yeah.
So man, we've been talking for an hour. Whoa!
Damn,
already an hour.
It's quick.
It passes like that, dude. I tell you, you start getting on. And it's like, holy shit, dude! An hour just went by.
Damn.
So I don't want to keep you here all night. I know you got to drive back home, but
that's cool.
What do you want to say to people watching this podcast? What are you doing now? I know you're in Tucson. I know you're teaching. You're playing with groups and. You're coming up and you're just promoting positive, culture, mariachi culture, folk music culture, and what do you want to say to people out there listening to this podcast?
Well, I guess for people that are learning or starting, just research. There's so much material out there that's a good word. That's a good place to start.
Go online.
Right? Go on. Yeah. Go watch videos. Go listen to old recordings, and that's what's gonna. People want to listen to that first and foremost before they want to hear arrangements of those same songs.
Right.
So get a good handle on that. Learn some basic music theory.
Yep.
Right. Just
practice.
Expose yourself to the dimensional resources that are out there in mariachi. Right. Because just to play the key of C, when you know all the chords in the key of C, it's like that doesn't mean much if you don't know what's happening in the bass or if you don't know how that relates to trumpets and violins. And you won't get that unless you hear the pro mariachis,
right? The
whole interaction, right? Hear a lot of Jose Hernandez has tons of stuff online where he explains
the breakdown.
The feeling, the interpretation, the way everything should jive together.
It's like how something like an armonía section crescendos or decrescendos, to a singer, right?
Correct. Yeah.
It's like I was trying to remember to do that tonight. It's like when Miguel is singing, there are parts where you're like
go down,
keep it down. And when he starts bringing it up, it's like bring it back up and keep it at the same level. And then
correct.
Don't be like this.
Closed off, right, with the cone.
Yeah.
Cone over your ears.
Don't do that. Like be focused. Be in the game. Look at what you're doing.
Yeah.
Be amiable.
Correct.
I think it's a big thing, man. I mean, Miguel talks about being humble all the time. I try to be humble a lot, and I don't know. Some people have told me that it's not my strongest suit. And I'm just like, I'm not a dick to people. I mean, I just kind of see things and I just kind of say it how it is or how I see it, right? But, be amiable, I think, is a better way, right? Like, if I see something that's really ooh, I'll look at myself and I'll be like, oh, man, I sound like horse crap right now, dude. This is horrible.
Yeah.
It's like, that's my first reaction to something that I see that's not good. And even myself, I'm really bad to myself. But, being amiable is okay, do you want you want to try it? You want to practice? Let's
like how to approach somebody how to fix the problem.
How to fix a problem? Yeah, like not be like snub them off.
Yeah, like, oh man, you don't know your chords. Like go home and listen to our recordings and then come back. And
like it's wasting my time, bro. I got better things to do. It's like, do you want to work on this? Because I'll take time, bro. Like time for me is very difficult, like not valuable, like it's difficult, right? Because you get so much in
you're just juggling all over the
you're just like shit, I got one thing after the next, right? And it's like, but I will take the time to go over something with someone if they really want to, and if they say if they blow you off, like, okay, well, you don't have to you don't have to get mad and say, well, screw that guy forever, right? It's like, all right, whatever, good, I get more back in my time. I was gonna spend an hour with you, but cool, I get more time back, right? So being amiable, learning your stuff. Adrian, thank you so much for being up here, bro. This is fantastic. I got to interview you for this podcast. Hopefully get 1 million views. Yeah, I don't even know. I mean, I felt like I got nowhere, dude. I was like, all right, I went to high school, did this, and then... Well, what do you want to talk about? I'll keep talking as long as you want to talk, bro. No, I don't know where I was going with that. Just kind of interesting. Well, what's like your next couple of, like, what are you going from here, right? Because I'll tell you, you're at such a high level of playing. It's like, what are not even that, man, to be honest. Like, what are you looking at? Like, what are you trying to do with your playing and with what you're doing in general? I need to practice more, for sure. Like, take more time. Back then I was practicing like 5-6 hours a day, man. I had nothing else to do, right? I go to school and then finish all my crap, and then 17, 16 years old, put the speakers up and then play along with a bunch of recordings and figure out. Yeah, and I was just experimenting with the harp all night, you know. And now, because of all my other stuff going on, it's hard to really sit down. But there's a lot of cool techniques, you know, that I've seen with Ivan, and there's a lot of harpists that are coming out, I guess publicly, in the sense that they're showing off their work, and they're like standalone harpists. Oh, they just accompany themselves, and they're out like in Cancun and and they're amazing, dude. They play like piano players, you know, and you're like, holy shit, dude. Like, what are you doing? To be a good mariachi harp player, you're like subpar to those guys. So that's like another level to play on, like that's literally the world stage for harpists. Be truly world class. Yeah, hell yeah, man. That's something to aspire to, right? So to be respected in that realm, it's like, all right, that's a whole other. That's the next level. That's the next level stuff, yeah. And it's pretty cool, man. But it's the same. It's a similar community, right? Everybody's nice, and they'll tell you the same thing. Go back and listen to the old recordings and get the essence of those first, and then come and study with us, and we'll, you know. And how hard is that to really do? Because I believe in it totally, right? I don't. When I'm sitting here and I'm listening to my stuff, I don't just pull up the latest and greatest from Nuevo Tecalitlán, right? I'm just like, oh, that's really cool. I like listening to that stuff. I like playing along with it. But like, my practice time is not that, right? That's not the stuff. It's like, so how do you take that kind of advice? If, like, say you're couple of years in, intermediate, advanced even, and maybe you haven't listened to some of those stuff, like, how do you kind of break it down? And is it just repetition? Is it just live your life? Part of it is like just maturity, right? On a personal level, on a musical level, if you can understand why certain things happen, the nuances of, you know, why certain sounds or why emotion comes out of certain phrases of music, how it comes out mechanically, right? There's a lot of components to that, and so I think if you take this time to sit down and study it and try to emulate it, right? That's first. To emulate it first, then you're along the right path, right? Because then now you can start playing along with the recording. And so, like Adolfo, for example, his Bible is Sones de Jalisco. Oh yeah. Every time he gets a chance to sit down and practice, he plays that. He's having Pato and Palomar playing his ears, or Rigo, yeah. There's nobody better. And so and he's just following it, you know, emulating, but there's still a lot to learn from that, because the trumpets are pulling a certain way, the violins are pulling another way. It's hard to copy. Like, I've done a couple of covers of that stuff, and I'm like, it sounds out of time for me. It is, like, it's not, but they all groove together as a group, you know, and so metrically, you know, if you line it up with a metronome, it's not going to line up. It's just not. But that kind of makes you open your ears to, all right, these guys están jalando, we gotta get on, and then we pull, they pull it back. Correct, yeah. And that's kind of what I think is like the essence of like sones, right? It's just it's a call and response. Yeah, it's exactly. It's a back and forth. It's a back and forth. I sometimes call it like chasing the bass. It's like when the bass is doing a progression, it's like, I'm going to start to play just like a little bit faster, just to kind of go back and then be able to punch back in right on time, right? Correct. Yeah. Not rush, because then you're rushing. Right? Yeah. And then if you punch back in out of time, if you're slower, you're behind, you're like, you just mess the whole thing up. You're just like, there's no way you can't punch back in behind time. You have to speed up a little bit and then punch in right on time, right?
It's a groove that everybody's following as a group, you know?
Yeah. So some of that sentiment, like you said, emulate, right?
Yeah,
get it down.
That's huge, yeah.
Practice it, get it down to memory. But to truly understand it, like sometimes like you gotta like have like someone has to pass away. You gotta get your heart broken. You gotta, you know, some of that stuff doesn't connect with you until like, you know, you had like an ex-girlfriend that screwed you over and you start listening to like Sentimiento Ranchero and you're like, oh,
that's a great CD.
God, every song is about this chick. Holy shit, it's horrible.
Yeah. But see, that's maturity at a personal level, right? If you don't go through that, you really can't.
You don't experience
life. Yeah, exactly. You can't project that in a song and you know, it's just one of those things.
And you're playing, right? And I've told this to a couple of people, like even like in my old group, and I was like, you got to kind of feel what you're playing on the vihuela, and they look at me like I'm a freak. Yeah. And I'm just like, I'm not explaining this very well. And I'm like, okay, how old are you? Like, they're like 20, 21, 22. I was like, have you had your heart just completely like cut into 4 pieces, put in a blender? Have you been screwed over yet, kid? Have you had this experience? A couple of times I'd be like, yeah, I had a high school girlfriend and she really screwed me over when we graduated. And I'm like, the next time you play that arrangement,
you think about her.
Think about her.
Yeah.
And he's like, I don't fucking think about her. And I'm just like, look, look, I'm a little older than you. I'm not better than you.
Correct.
I'm just older, okay?
Yeah.
Think about her the next time we play this and see if it doesn't change how you feel about the song.
Yeah.
Changed how he felt about the song. He never played it the same way again.
Right? Or even something as simple as sitting down and translating the lyrics.
Oh, yeah.
Like, what is this dude really saying?
What's he saying? Yeah, some of the lyrics are fucked.
Yeah, dude.
You're just like, oh my God. Like, I'm listening to that. I was listening to it on the way to the restaurant, right? I put it on YouTube. I told my wife, I was like, you know, I don't know if you realize this when you married me, but like when you get in the car with me, it's a very eclectic selection of music. Because I went from Michael Salgado to Sentimiento Ranchero to Tony Bennett to Edward, you know, You Look Perfect Tonight. Yeah. To Lady Gaga. I'm just like, I'm going down all kinds of lists right here. Before we got to the restaurant, I was going to put on E40 too, just for good measure.
Yeah.
And so I was like listening to Yerba Mala.
Mm. Dude, that whole CD, man. Oof.
I'm just like, damn.
Yeah.
Like, the person who wrote that song, it's like, what did some chick do to that poor bastard? Like, she must have slept with his brother and his best friend in the same night. Like, that's how bad that song is, man. It's like, oh, Jesus.
Grabs your heartstrings and
a little bit. You're just like, okay, I kind of need that, right? Yeah. Leave that right where it is. I appreciate what you're doing there.
Correct.
But yeah, you kind of need some of those experiences, right? Because even as a prodigy or a young kid who can play classical guitar perfectly, are they really going to get all the sentiment of...
No, they're just going to be great mechanically.
Great emulators.
Right, yeah.
Like, they're not going to really understand the feeling of Capriccio Avare, right? The, what's his name? Argentinian classical guitar composer, Tárrega, right? Like, you listen to something like and you hear a kid play it, you're like, notes
are right, timing's right,
perfect, but there's like death.
Yeah,
it's like a music box, right?
Correct.
I've watched a master class with Andres Segovia teaching grad students. Woo! Talk about Frank being hard on you. Like, he's like, no. More piano. He's like trying to speak English, but he really can't. He speaks Spanish, right? And he's tearing these guys apart.
Correct.
And it's like every note is like connected to his soul. Yeah. And he's had a life of touring as a classical guitarist. I'm like, I'm sure he got screwed over by some. He probably screwed over.
There's a memory attached to every single note he plays for every single song, right?
That's tough, man.
Yeah.
But that's our job.
Correct.
We have to. That's why they call it an instrument, because it's between us and the audience, and it's our job to make that connect with them, right? And if we don't, then we failed.
Yeah,
we failed. We got to try harder.
And I've seen a lot of like master classes on YouTube and even in person. You know, like some mariachi stuff, some opera stuff, some piano, some violin. And at that point, everybody, they're good mechanically, right? They can play fast, they can play loud, or they can play all these crazy passages, and all their fingers, their fingers' dexterity is like amazing. But at the end of the day, when you really get into the guts and the meat of those masterclass workshops, they're really telling them it's the emotion that everybody has to work on, right? Yeah. It's how to play with emotion and how to translate, the true meaning of that song to an audience.
Right. Make the audience feel what the composer felt when he wrote it.
Because at that point, everybody's pros from a mechanical standpoint, right? They can play fast, they can play slow. Their bowing is perfect and their posture, everything, Yeah. It's just like, all right, well, now let's take out
it's like, how do you get
the real essence of this?
How do you get Nunca Jamás to make somebody cry?
Yeah,
just from your violin. Like, and then you can hear the violins, almost like the violins are bleeding, like,
yeah, dude.
It's like, holy shit.
Yeah.
Like, the first time you realize that, you're like, I just stepped in a whole new world. Like, this is a whole other level, and I had no concept of, right?
Yeah.
Dang, dude. Fucking nerds, bro. I love it.
It's crazy. Yeah, man. But, I mean, a lot of that stuff you could just get back, even if you try to emulate old stuff, you'll see.
You'll feel it.
Yeah. You just repetition.
It's contagious.
You'll get the mechanics down of playing and whatever, but to some extent, it's like there's more to that in these recordings,
right?
That may or may have not translated into future generations of the same genre.
I think that's kind of our job now. Unfortunately, we're in our 30s. We got to teach. We got to start teaching and passing this down. Some of our mentors are getting up there in years. A couple of them have passed away.
Yeah, man.
It sucks, man. It makes me feel like
old.
Not just old, but like, you know how like some people like when I see you, like when some people see each other, they're like, "Oh, it's so good to see you, man," and it's just like I'm like I'm genuinely happy to see you. Like this is like fucking good times just to see you and have a conversation and share a glass of scotch. But it's like that's the same thing where it's like you have to have that genuine feeling for people, right?
Yeah, for sure.
If you don't have it, then again you're just back to emulating. That's all you're doing.
Handshake, hi, bye. How are you doing? Good, thanks, bye.
Yeah, where's my money?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah, emotion, man.
Emotion.
But that's at the heart of every artist, whether you're a chef, whether you're a musician, whether you're a singer, whether you're a car mechanic, whether you know what I mean, it's
carpenter.
Like, yeah, exactly.
Anything you do you have to have
heart.
Back Bruce Lee. I don't know if you're a Bruce Lee fan.
I don't know much about him. Yeah.
So there's a saying that he used to have in one of his movies, the movie he did right before he died, where he's teaching a student how to kick.
Yeah.
He's going kick me, and the student's like throwing him a perfect side kick, but he's like, we need emotional content. And so he hits him on the head, and the kid gets pissed. And so he goes really hard at him. And he goes, I said emotional content, not anger. Now try again. And he's like, he sees the kid lock eyes with him, and he's like, he gets right into the stance with him. And the kid actually kicks him, like tries to kick him. And he's like, that's it.
Yeah.
It's like, how did it come to you? He's just like, and he hits him again, and he's just like, don't think, feel. Like emotional content, that's what you're looking for, right?
Correct.
It's like you have to have respect for yourself, respect for other people. In martial arts, you both respect each other. You're going to try to kill each other.
Yeah.
You're going to try to simulate trying to kill one another. Same thing with music. Here, your compañeros, your friends.
Correct. Yeah, you can't be selfish with it. You can't be
selfish. You got to be giving and supportive and.
Yeah.
Dang,
it's interesting.
Well, Adrian, I think we finally got there. We got the emotional content that we were looking for, man. We went down your pedigree, some cool words, some awesome conversation. Thank you, my friend, for being up here.
Yeah,
hopefully we get to do this again and make it a common
I'll be
thing.
Up here, every other Saturday? Yeah, every other Saturday.
Shit, dude. If you want to come up here and just talk mariachi with me and Miguel, when Miguel's on here, he's a whole other thing, man. He's just like, we call him Miguel's gripes, and I'm just sitting back here like, I'm just egging him on and like, and then what are you going to say? What are you going to say next? You going to say another thing? You want to say something fucked up? Let's say something fucked up.
Record's on.
Yeah, record's on. Let's get it, man. Oh, man. Well, thanks again for coming up here, bro.
Thanks, man. Thanks for the invite.
We're going to tell our viewers on YouTube and on Facebook, follow us at PlayMariachi on Facebook. On YouTube, I just uploaded some new logos for the PlayMariachi Podcast. We ain't going anywhere, folks. We're going to keep talking about mariachi. I'm going to keep trying to interview people Please like the video, share it. The only way I can get awesome people like this, well, not the only way, because he's just awesome in general.
Nah.
But more people, if more people have messages, things that they would like to talk about.
There's tons of people that have a love for this, man. Yeah, and they want to see it grow, right?
Yeah,
they
absolutely. Want to see it in a positive way.
Correct. Whether it's their compañeros that play alongside of them,
or the next generation.
Yeah,
the audience, people who don't play.
People out there, man. It's pretty cool.
That's
part of the reason why I keep teaching is because
you like it. You love it.
All right, I want to see what the next evolution's gonna hold. Yeah, exactly.
Dang, dude.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. It's interesting. You see that fast in Tucson. It's like armies of kids come out.
Is it still
every
growing?
year? Oh, yeah, Davis is pumping. Davis pumps out like hundreds of kids, man.
Dang.
Their summer camp, I think last year was about 300 kids.
That reminds me of one thing
Crazy,
real quick
man.
Before we sign off is when I was going to college, I met a white classical pianist, right?
Yeah.
And he took a Latin American, the Latin American music class that they do at the U of A?
Yeah.
And he thought mariachi was the same, like, just like that really stereotypical thing, right?
Yeah.
And I took him to the conference. I was like, come to the conference, just the show. Don't go to the fucking after party. You're not going to fit in. Just the show. And let me, you tell me what you think, right? Because he needed it for a class. And he said, this is, like, he saw Mariachi Vargas and he saw Cobra and he's like, dude, what is this, man? I'm just like, and I showed him some more stuff that was on YouTube at the time. And he started studying it. He's a college kid, another nerd.
Yeah.
And he told me this. He said, your genre is one of the most unique genres existing today. Because from as far as I can tell, you have young kids that aspire to play and love playing music that their grandparents and great-grandparents listen to. And I'm like, how many people can say that? How many genres out there have kids lining up by the dozens to play an art form that's almost 150 years old?
Correct.
And it's still prospering, Yeah. I don't know, man. I think that's it, man. We're going to leave it right there. We're going to leave it right on the table, just like that. 150 years of mariachi evolution that continues to grow, man.
Crazy, dude. Yeah.
Adrian, thanks for coming up. Follow us on Facebook and YouTube. Like, share. Help us get more folks up here. The more the views, the better. That's how this YouTube world works. So let's just get the views, all right?
Yeah, man.
All righty. See you later.
Later.